Hello students, in this video of NEET exam favorites, we are going to discuss an important chapter known as respiration in plants. Moving in this chapter, first we have to discuss what respiration is. Respiration is a cellular process in which a cell breaks food, oxidizes food, releases that energy, and that energy is later trapped in the form of ATP. Now, in aerobic respiration, for respiration, oxygen is used, and oxygen is used as the final electron acceptor. The role of oxygen will come later in this topic. Now, how does a plant obtain that oxygen? It is done by gaseous exchange through the environment. For that purpose, the plant has stomata and lenticels. Stomata are present in leaf and stem. Lenticels are found in mature stem and root. Now, plant does not have a dedicated respiratory system, but it has these openings. Each plant part is capable of its own gaseous exchange. Now, next thing we are going to start is the common pathway known as glycolysis. Glycolysis is where glucose is broken down into pyruvic acid, two molecules of pyruvic acid. Glucose is a 6-carbon sugar. Pyruvic acid is a 3-carbon acid. So, a glucose molecule forms 2 pyruvic acids, in total 10 steps. A short way of that is given here. Glucose is broken down into 2 molecules of triose phosphate, meaning 3-carbon sugars, and ultimately those sugars are converted into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. In this process, 2 ATP are spent in the initial phase. 2 molecules of NAD are reduced to NADH, and total 4 ATP are formed directly. Now, the detailed version of this pathway is given in the NCERT, as you can see here, where you can see glucose is being converted into glucose 6-phosphate by an enzyme known as hexokinase, and you can see there are 2 steps where ATP is being spent. Ultimately, we get fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, which splits into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which is also known as PGAL, and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which is known as DHAP. Ultimately, these molecules are then converted into pyruvic acid, where 2 molecules of PGL will further go into this pathway. You can see NAD being converted into NADH. Everything from PGAL onwards is multiplied by 2 because 2 molecules of PGL are formed. So we are going to multiply NAD by 2. Then we can see there are 2 steps where ATP is being formed directly. When ATP is formed directly by the substrate or via the substrate activity or the energy released by the substrate, that method is called substrate level phosphorylation. In short, we call it SLP. There are 2 steps in glycolysis where SLP occurs. So we have total 4 molecules of ATP, 2 in each step, being created. Now, we are going to calculate the net gain from glycolysis, only from glycolysis. So, net gain can be calculated as 4 ATP being formed via SLP and 2 ATP being spent in the first and third step. So we can say there are 2 ATP that are gained directly, or the net gain from glucose to pyruvic acid or in glycolysis is 2 ATP. Glycolysis is a common pathway between aerobic and anaerobic organisms. It is common between both types of respirations. Now, the next thing we have to calculate is, if we are considering aerobic respiration, the entire NADH that is formed in glycolysis is going to go later into the inner mitochondrial membrane, and it will also be converted into ATP via a process known as oxidative phosphorylation. So if that is considered, the net gain calculation can be done like this. Net gain upon complete oxidation of glucose in aerobic respiration. So what will we get via glycolysis? We will get via SLP 4 ATP followed by 2 NADH that are formed. Each NADH is going to give 3 ATP, and they will be converted into 6 ATP in total, subtracted by the 2 ATP that are spent, and we get a total gain of 8 ATP. Right, so this is about glycolysis. Now let's see some of the MCQs. The first MCQ is, what is the net gain of ATP when each molecule of glucose is converted into 2 molecules of pyruvic acid? We know the net gain, we can see here, is 2 ATP. Next MCQ is conversion of glucose to glucose 6-phosphate, meaning this step is the first irreversible reaction of glycolysis is catalyzed by. So the enzyme that we know is hexokinase. Moving on to the next pathway, we are focusing on aerobic respiration. So the next pathway in this line is when pyruvic acid is sent into the mitochondria, and that will now take place in the mitochondria. For this purpose, pyruvic acid is sent into the mitochondria and it is converted into acetyl coenzyme A, which is a 2-carbon compound, and then acetyl coenzyme A enters into the main pathway of aerobic respiration known as Krebs cycle. For this purpose, a short reaction, that is conversion of pyruvic acid into acetyl coenzyme A, takes place. This reaction is called link reaction. For this, an enzyme is utilized. The enzyme is called pyruvate dehydrogenase, and magnesium ions are required for the functioning of this enzyme. Ultimate product of this reaction is acetyl coenzyme A, which is a 2-carbon compound. Pyruvic acid undergoes oxidative decarboxylation, so CO2 is released. Pyruvic acid releases electrons that are accepted by NAD, and you get NADH. Remember, for 1 glucose, 2 pyruvic acid molecules are formed, so this reaction is multiplied for 2 if we are calculating for 1 glucose. So we have 2 pyruvic acids converting into 2 acetyl coenzyme A, 2 carbon dioxide molecules, and 2 NADH. Remember, 1 NADH is equal to 3 ATP, so this link reaction will eventually give us 6 ATP when we calculate for the entire glucose molecule. Focusing on the Krebs cycle, acetyl coenzyme A is now going to enter this pathway where it is going to react with oxaloacetic acid, forming a 6-carbon product known as citric acid. Eventually, there would be total 4 steps where oxidation occurs. In each step, either an NADH or an FADH2 is going to be formed. There are 3 steps where NADH is formed. There is 1 step where FADH2 is formed. This reaction of succinate to fumarate is important because it is catalyzed by an enzyme known as succinate dehydrogenase. There is 1 step where substrate level phosphorylation occurs, where a GDP molecule is converted into GTP. GTP is equivalent to ATP. When we count it as 1 ATP. Now, we are going to calculate the net gain for Krebs cycle in a single turn. So net gain calculation is done something like this. There are total 3 NADH molecules that are formed. They can be converted into 9 ATP because each NADH will give us 3 ATP. 1 FADH2 molecule, each FADH2 is equal to 2 ATP. So when we convert it, we get 2 ATP from it. And 1 GTP, which is directly calculated as 1 ATP. So the total gain from 1 turn is 12 ATP. Going back to our earlier conclusion, 1 glucose splits into 2 pyruvic acid followed by 2 acetyl coenzyme A. So there are 2 turns of the Krebs cycle. We multiply this 12 ATP by 2 to get the net gain of Krebs cycle via 1 glucose. So for 1 glucose, net gain from Krebs cycle is 2 into 12, meaning 24 ATP. Right. Followed by some of the MCQs that have been asked from this topic. The first MCQ is pyruvate dehydrogenase. You can see this enzyme. Activity during aerobic respiration requires which ion? So we know the ion that is required is magnesium. Next, the number of substrate level phosphorylations in 1 turn of TCA cycle. What is TCA cycle? It is another name for Krebs cycle, because Krebs cycle has the first product, which is citric acid. It is a tricarboxylic acid. That's why this cycle is known as TCA cycle. Right. What is the number of substrate level phosphorylations occurring? The substrate level phosphorylation step is the step where GTP is formed. So there is total 1 step, that is substrate level phosphorylation. Right. Now we come on to the final step where ATP is synthesized in large amounts in the aerobic respiration, and this step is called electron transport system, or ETS. For this, we need to understand the location of this pathway. Like Krebs cycle occurs in the matrix of mitochondria, link reaction occurs in the matrix of mitochondria. Similarly, ETS occurs in the inner mitochondrial membrane. On the outer side is the intermembrane space, and on the inner side is the matrix. These structures are the protein complexes that are present in the inner mitochondrial membrane for the purpose of electron transport system. Out of which there are 4 complexes. This is complex number 1, this is complex number 3, followed by complex number 2, then followed by complex number 4, and ultimately complex number 5. Out of these, first 4 complexes are used in electron transport, 5th complex is used in ATP synthesis. Why do we need an electron transport system? Because throughout the aerobic respiration, whether it is glycolysis or Krebs cycle or link reaction, we have converted several NAD molecules into NADH and FAD into FADH2. What are these? These are basically reductions of NAD and FAD. Now we are going to oxidize NADH and FADH2, and the electrons are going to travel through these electron carriers, and the energy of the electron is now going to be used to pump protons across this membrane. Why is the proton pumping required? That will come later. Now, we need to begin with the first complex. The first complex is known as NADH dehydrogenase. Why is that? Because NADH, when it comes into the ETS, it binds to this complex number 1 and is oxidized and is converted back into NAD. The electrons then travel through these components and are ultimately sent to oxygen. The first carrier is FMN, followed by FES, which is iron sulfur protein. Then complex 1 gives the electron to a mobile hydrogen carrier known as the ubiquinone, followed by ubiquinone moving to complex number 3. Complex number 3 has its first carrier as cytochrome B. It receives electrons from ubiquinone, followed by another iron sulfur protein, followed by a cytochrome known as cytochrome C1. Now cytochrome C1 again provides its electron to a mobile carrier. It is a mobile electron carrier known as cytochrome C. This carrier is located towards the outer side of the inner mitochondrial membrane. It is also a mobile carrier. It is going to travel to complex number 4. Complex number 4, the first component is copper center A, because complex 4 contains 2 copper centers. The copper center A is going to provide electrons to the next carrier, which is cytochrome A, followed by cytochrome A3, followed by another copper center known as CuB. Ultimately, copper center B is going to provide electrons to the oxygen, which will be converted into water. So you can understand that even if aerobic respiration is driven by oxygen, the role of oxygen is limited to the end of this process. It is functioning as the final electron acceptor. It is removing all the hydrogen from the system and it is converting itself into water. If FADH2 is oxidized, because we have understood that NADH is being oxidized up until now, if FADH is oxidized, remember the reaction was succinate to fumarate. Succinate to fumarate, the reaction occurs, and the enzyme I told you was succinate dehydrogenase. It is functioning as complex number 2 in this process. The electrons are going to travel to FAD, followed by iron sulfur protein. Again, a mobile electron carrier is required, which is ubiquinone. Ultimately, the electron will travel to complex number 3, and they will follow the same path as before: cytochrome B, iron sulfur protein, cytochrome C1, and so on, ultimately reaching to oxygen. So whether the electrons are coming from NADH or from FADH2, they are going to end up at oxygen and be converted into water. What was all this about? The electron traveled from carrier to carrier, released energy. That energy is used by these complexes to pump protons across the membrane. How many protons? The first complex is going to pump 4 protons. The third complex is also going to pump 4 protons, and complex number 4 is going to pump 2 protons. So for total 1 NADH and 1 FADH2, 10 protons are pumped from matrix across the membrane to the intermembrane space. When the protons are pumped, the proton concentration becomes high on the intermembrane side and relatively low on the matrix side. This is then used by complex number 5, which has 2 complexes, which has 2 components, F0 and F1. F0 is a transmembrane channel protein through which the protons travel back across the membrane into the matrix, and 4 protons are enough to provide energy for ADP and inorganic phosphate to be converted into ATP. It is this process that is known as oxidative phosphorylation, because energy of oxidation reduction is being used to form ATP. Now, the calculation is 1 NADH being equal to 3 ATP and 1 FADH2 being equal to 2 ATP. This is the calculation that we have been using up until now for our net gain calculations. Coming to the MCQ, which of the following statements is incorrect? During aerobic respiration, role of oxygen is limited to the terminal stage. We have seen that it is in the end. In ETC, 1 molecule of NADH gives rise to 2 ATP molecules, 1 FADH2 gives rise to 3 ATP molecules. This is actually in reverse, so this is the incorrect statement. ATP is synthesized through complex 5. Yes, it is synthesized through complex 5. Oxidation reduction reactions produce proton gradient in respiration. So yes, oxidation reduction produces the proton gradient, which is used for ATP synthesis. Moving on to the ultimate calculation for 1 glucose, complete oxidation in aerobic respiration will result in how many ATP we can calculate. Total 38 ATP are gained. So net gain for 1 glucose molecule is 38 ATP. Now we come to fermentation or anaerobic respiration. Remember, if pyruvic acid is converted into acetyl coenzyme A followed by Krebs cycle followed by ETS, that is aerobic respiration. If pyruvic acid does not go into the mitochondria, if it is respired under anaerobic conditions or without oxygen, then we call it anaerobic respiration or fermentation. It is of 2 types: alcoholic fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. Alcoholic fermentation converts glucose into pyruvic acid via glycolysis. Remember, it is the common pathway. Pyruvic acid is converted into ethanol and CO2. Whereas in lactic acid fermentation, glucose becomes pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid ultimately becomes lactic acid. What is the difference? The net gain in either of the fermentation processes is 2 ATP. What happens to NADH? The NADH of glycolysis does not go into ETS in fermentation. It is used in the fermentation process itself. So fermentation can only give 2 ATP net gain from each glucose molecule. Next is the MCQ. What amount of energy is released from glucose during lactic acid fermentation? So during lactic acid fermentation or either of the fermentation, the energy that is released from glucose is about less than 7% of the total. Next is a process or a topic known as RQ. What is RQ? When a respiratory substrate is oxidized, an amount of oxygen is spent in the oxidation and an amount of CO2 is released. CO2 released to oxygen consumed is known as respiratory quotient. We can see different values of respiratory quotients. The most preferred substrates are carbohydrates, and when carbohydrate is oxidized, the RQ value is 1. When either of the protein or fat is respired, then the value is less than 1. For protein, the value is 0.9. For fats, the value is 0.7. In the NCERT, an important molecule is mentioned as an example of lipids. That molecule is tripalmitin. You can find a reaction in the NCERT regarding this. Now, finally, we have amphibolic pathway. What is amphibolic pathway? Respiration is not just catabolic, it is also anabolic. Different of the respiratory substrate that are formed can be converted into different other molecules by the cell. They can be taken out of the respiratory pathway. So there is both catabolism and anabolism. Same way, different respiratory substrates can enter the respiratory pathway through different ways. This is the central pathway from carbohydrate, and carbohydrate is being converted into pyruvic acid followed by acetyl coenzyme A, and then into Krebs cycle, all the carbons are released. The substrate is completely oxidized. But this is for carbohydrates. If fats or lipids enter this pathway, you can see lipids are converting into fatty acids and glycerol. Glycerol is converted into DHAP, which we know is an isomer of PGL, and will go via glycolysis into the respiration. If lipids are converted into fatty acids are then converted into acetyl coenzyme A, which enters Krebs cycle. If the respiratory substrate is protein, proteins are broken down into amino acids. Amino acids are deaminated, meaning the amino group is released, and they enter via pyruvic acid. They can also be converted into acetyl coenzyme A, or they can also directly be converted into intermediates of the Krebs cycle, such as alpha ketoglutarate. This is the amphibolic pathway. Similarly, the respiratory intermediates can be removed to synthesize either of the protein or fats. So they can enter, and different respiratory substrates can be exited to make these substrates. The MCQs. Respiratory quotient RQ value of tripalmitin. We know tripalmitin is a fat and lipid. Lipids RQ value is 0.7. So the answer would be 0.7. What is the other MCQ? Fatty acids are connected with the respiratory pathway through. So we need to tell which compound is formed by the fatty acid being converted into a respiratory substrate. We know fatty acids are converted into acetyl coenzyme A when they enter this pathway. That's it. We are going to end this video at this point. I wish you all the best for your NEET exam.